How's it going, internets? I hope you're having a lovely day. It's that time again. It's time to get into some animation. It's time to get that imagination going. Time to get into some creativity. And it's time to get inspired. And today's inspiration comes from... I'm probably going to say this wrong, so bear with me. Yacine Elghorri, I believe is how you pronounce that. He is a phenomenal artist who worked on Futurama, Titan AE. He worked with stuff with Mobius, and I just love his work. I think he's got that balance between really readable drawings yet still having some life in his work. You can see in some of these areas, you can definitely clean that stuff up, but I like that it still feels a bit more sketchy, but yet there's color in it, and he really just captures the art of sketching, and I really tend to find myself drawn to this more loose style where everything is there, all the information is there, but it's not so tight that it's one fine, distinct, hard line that loses a lot of the life in it. And I think he does that really well in all of his drawings. Even in stuff that's a little more polished, you can still see that there's a little bit of grit in there, and it just works. I personally am drawn to that a lot. I think it feels looser and it feels more alive, really. And especially for someone who likes animation and illustration, for me, I like that sense of movement and that there's something that happened right before and something that happened right after. And he's got such a wild and vivid imagination. I mean, check out that character. That's just insane. But really great style. I love everything that I come across from him. I really like the head shape with the elongated lips and the jaw drop down. I think it's a really unique and interesting head shape, kind of orcish, yet still human at the same time. It's really cool. So definitely check out more of his stuff, but I wanted to share a quote with you guys from him that was, I draw according to my mood. I am away from my desk for several days when I'm not inspired, and do not leave it when ideas come to me. This is a very hard job, and in fact, that reality takes a lot of mental energy. And I think that's completely true. We've talked about this before, of that people who are really creative, which you are. If you're watching this, chances are you have just a desire to get better and to always be creating. And you can't really turn that off once it's turned on. Everywhere you look, you're like, ooh, that's an interesting tree, and the way that the branches are shaped is just an interesting shape, and I wonder how I could incorporate that shape into something that I'm doing. Or you're a musician and you hear a song and you're like, oh, that little lick that is between the chorus and the verse really brings things together, and how could I implement that kind of thing? And your brain is just always working and always being creative, and I think that's important for all of us as human beings, to try and develop that and not just be cogs in a machine. But I think the other point that is interesting here that he brings up is that fact of the mood and the mentality and the spirit while creating. That some days it's not there and some days it is. And I think for myself, I find that it's important to push through those days, and that means some days, and when I sit down at the art desk, are shorter, and some days are longer, because some days it just flows, and it's like I'm not even there. Like the spirit is just taking over, and it's done, and where'd the time go? How'd that happen? And other days you're sitting there and it's almost more of a job. You have to put that pen to paper, you have to put that mouse to the graph editor, or whatever it may be. So that being said, let's go ahead and get into some animation. This is the Piranha rig. It's a free rig you can grab over at Creative Crash. I will throw a link in the description below for all of the stuff that I've talked about so far. And if you're not familiar with what we'll be doing for the rest of the video, we give ourselves 48 frames. That's 2 seconds of animation. I go off and I find a rig that I've never used before. It's a free resource for you guys to play around with, and we kind of go from there. A little bit of over the shoulder, hang out with me while I animate, a little bit of instruction, or talking through the process, or talking about some sort of creative or imaginative thing. And hopefully the end goal of these is to encourage you guys to go off and create your own stuff, and hopefully inspire some unique and wonderful things, whether it's because you disagree with everything I'm saying and everything I'm doing, or because you totally agree and you sparked something and you No matter what, I just hope that you guys get more creative as we go, and that if you subscribe to the channel every day, you see there's new stuff out there. And even if you don't watch the video, but maybe it goes, oh, you know what, he's off and made another thing today, what have I done? And then you go off and you create something too. So that being said, let's go ahead and get in here. And if you've been following along for the month of November, we've been doing Jumpvember, which is a jump animation every day for the month of November. And today we'll be doing some more of that. So let's go ahead and turn the controls on here. Where was it? Okay. So let's save our file here. And we are using Autodesk Maya 2014 for this one. And I think I kind of want to do a little bit of just a continuous swim with a little hop in the middle. So let's go ahead and set that there. Set that up there. Try and frame it so that it can stay within there. Go a little bit up here. I'll dip down. Hop it up. Dip it down. Go back. So let's see. That would be like something like that. But perhaps we'll give ourselves about 60 frames to really do that. And let's look at the window, animation editors, graph editor. Let's look at our translate Z. Let's make that a bit more consistent. And I'll take that and bring it over there. That way we have kind of a consistent with a little bit of hop in the middle. Okay, let's look at the translate Y here. Let's do a little bit of up and down here, down, up. So we keep a little bit of bob in our swim here. And then we've got 52, 58. So let's try that now. Okay, first of all, I still think we need to translate more in Z, so let's push that a little bit further and make it fairly even here. Let's look at our translate Ys. Maybe give us about 68 frames, kind of slow it down a little more. And let's look at our translate Z. Let's go a little bit further here. Like that, bring that. And again, we don't really have any great posing on this. We're just kind of doing a little bit of overall layout for how we want to really kind of rough this out. Let's look at the translate Y. Let's do a little bit less of a bounce there. A little bit more here. Let's see. feels pretty good, but this could probably be over one more frame. And that could be exaggerated a little bit more. And I think we could probably give ourselves about 4 more frames. So let's go 72. Type right, that'd be nice. And we'll take everything we've got here. We'll go 72. Just a few more frames there. Kind of taper it a little bit slower. Okay, let's go ahead and save that, and let's go ahead and create a polygon primitives cube here. Let's create a new camera as well. Let's try that again. Okay, and do a light blue on this to kind of give us a sense of water here. Assign a new material, and I will put a Lambert on there. I'll pick a color for a Lambert to be blue here. It's kind of a good watery blue. And let's look at the transparency. Let's really make it transparent here. Hide our grid. And let's look at this now. Let's bring it upward here. Let's watch it now. There we go. That way we have a sense of kind of jumping out of the water. And let's grab this thing and let's extend it a little bit more. Okay, and let's look at the middle of the body here. Actually, let's go ahead and hide this thing because it's probably going to select all the time. So we're just going to turn that back off for a second. And let's make sure we go here and key everything. Let's look at transit while, lift it up here. Down there. Let's gotta look at that now. Okay, obviously we're gonna have to do some tweaking here. let's minimize everything we had to start off with. It's a little too much in the beginning here. Okay, let's look at that now. Let's push it forward a frame. It should probably be up a little more. It should probably be a little more. Push that maybe back a frame, amp it up. This needs to be back about 2 frames. Let's look at that. Okay, obviously the beginning is just too much, so I'll have to take that down. It'd still be maybe a frame later. Okay. And let's look at these guys here. Let's go and bring them down a little bit there. Just kind of accentuating the shift of the spine here. Let's delete that. Bring that up, down, up, down, bring it back. Okay, it's probably closer. Let's look at it now. Okay, the ending feels good. This one here feels a little too much, so let's minimize that. It might be the head too that's doing it. so it's kind of swimming a little more consistent. That way it's not only kind of mimicking what the main torso and head are doing, but it's kind of doing something on its own to help propel the movement forward. And let's kind of even that out a little bit more. And minimize it a little bit. Let's look at it now. Okay, feels like there's hardly anything on there, so let's crank that up a little bit more. There we go. And let's look at the next portion of the tail. Let's grab both of those and let's start that at 4. There. Swish, swish back and forth. Let's look at that. Okay, let's take that tip and we'll delay that a frame from where it was too. And let's take the middle section and we'll tone it down, and we'll take the tip of the tail and we'll amp it up a little bit more. Play a little bit of balancing game for where we want the emphasis on that tail splash to be. And let's tone down the base here as well. Now that we've got the back end moving, we don't need the front to be as much, so we can pull it back a little bit. Let's go towards that now. Okay, and we'll do a little bit of rotate here. Down there. Let's go up there. Down there. Up there. Down there. Up there. Down. Let's go look at that now. Okay, maybe a little bit less toward the beginning so that we can really see that amp up through here. Yeah, let's look at these two here. And we'll do a little bit up, down, up, down, up, down, and down, up, and back down a little bit. So let's see. And since we also had the kind of side to side going, it really loosens up that back tail a little bit more. Okay, let's go ahead and do that, and let's look at these little arms here. technology since we haven't done that for a little while. Let's go back there. Yeah, we're gonna have to do them each one by one. Back there. And forward there. Back there. Forward there. Back there. Forward there. Back there. There. And this is more of just kind of a add-on or not a focal point of our animation, but it's going to help if we can sell these little arms going to. But the main bulk we already got kind of working here, so anything you can do that can help that illusion of life is always important to do. Back, out, back, out, okay, let's go watch that now. Okay, and let's take the tips and we'll delay those frame into, let's see. And let's tone down the arms a little bit more. Just since we delayed the tips of those fins a little bit, let's tone down the base a little bit more. And I usually like to, depending on what it is, but it's helpful sometimes to go through and key both if this was a finger or an arm, to key the root and the tip at the same time, and then offset a little bit there. Kind of is a little bit more of a streamlined way to approach it, at least for myself, because then you get a rough timing, to go in and key each one super individually, but you get a basic layout for how you want to approach those. Okay, now let's go ahead and look at these bottom ones. Okay, try again. There we go. Just grabbing everything here. Let's do it at 10. Back. Forward. And back. We're still doing it pretty much on 8s, but I have it 2 frames later than what the front fin is doing, so that way there's a little more variation there as well. And that's the thing, especially with doing more, I wouldn't say this is a cycle, but something that you want, kind of a good formula for how you approach a swim. For myself at least, it's helpful to kind of get a rough timing on the body, then break it down, and then keep going from there, and just do variations on that basic timing that you have. And with your posing and offsetting and stuff, you can get things to not feel like it's all hitting at the same frame and moving at the same speed. And let's bring that down. We don't need so much. Feels like it's a little overplayed. And let's look at that tip of that fin. Let's delay it a frame. Okay. And now we'll look at the other side. I'll go ahead and grab those. And then the other thing I want to do before we kind of call it is do a little bit on the jaw, and then see if we can't do a little bit of drag on these guys as well, especially during that jump. And just help sell that it's a body moving together, and they're not so just separate little fins moving on their own, but they're affected by the whole movement of the body itself. Again, throughout all this stuff, it's about bringing character and adding that illusion of life, whether it's supernatural or super cartoony. It's just about adding character and life to your movements. So, there's no... I mean, if we were going for what would an actual, literal, anatomical fish animation look like, it wouldn't be this. But, based on a caricaturization of kind of a fish movement, you can play around a little bit more. And I think that's the point. Otherwise, at this point, I mean, there was a time in art history when all you could have was just a painting or an illustration of something, because there weren't cameras. But at this point, there's photo cameras and high definition photography and everything. So animation kind of needs to do something to set it apart from that, because if you can take a video of a horse that's a perfect video of a horse, and then you want to do an animation that's a perfect animation of how a horse moves, I think you're kind of missing the point of the art form, which is to exaggerate and also simplify different things so that it's not the same, but rather caricature or emphasizing certain things that you want to play up or play down with that. And I think that's something that you need to have a good grasp of the basics, but then once you do, start playing around with it so that you can actually have some fun. Let's just do a little bit of that. Oh, let me just get that little bit of bounce in there. Probably go a little bit more, have another recoil. Again, I don't want to do too much on there. We've got enough going on that it's going to be a little busy if we do that, but we can do a little bit of a recoil there. A little bit of drag on that fin. Help emphasize the fact that there's a jump here. Drag it back there. Delete that. Go down there. Up there. Okay, so let's go ahead and see if that feels about right. Okay, and let's look at these guys as well. And then we'll just do a little bit of drag here, and then drag back there, drag down again, drag back, and kind of even out here. Then we can keep going with that recoil a bunch more, but I think I don't want to keep the focus on the back tail and the body itself and not having so much bouncing around there. So again, we want to go here, about drag that. And these don't have to be exactly even here. That's why I'm not really looking at specifically the timing of other things, but rather just kind of the posing itself and getting a rough timing from there so that everything isn't going to be hitting all at the same frame here. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at that now. There we go, and then get a little bit of drag in those fins too. Okay, go ahead and save that, and let's do a little bit of drag on the mouth just during that jump. So we've got it here. Let's go ahead and drag it down there. Drag it open there. Actually, I think I want to do the jaw here. There we go. That's what I wanted, not the lips really. Drag it there. Okay, so I think that'll be pretty close. Let's turn our kind of water layer on there that we had before. Turn our nerve curves off. Let's look and make sure we got everything kind of in frame. Zoom in probably a little bit more. And let's go ahead and save our file, and let's go ahead and play that and see how it looks. Yeah, that's pretty fun. Definitely we could spend another hour or so polishing it up, but I think probably hit our time mark for the day. So let me know what you guys thought, if there was stuff that you liked in this one, if there were different approaches that you would have taken, or different timing, or different posing, or any of that kind of stuff. Let me know in the comments below. If you end up using this rig, definitely share it back so I can give you some thumbs up and some encouragement. Let's take a look back at where we started. We were looking at Yacine Elghorri, and he said, I draw according to my mood. I am away from my desk for several days when I'm not inspired, and do not leave it when ideas come to me. This is a very hard job, and in fact the reality takes a lot of mental energy. And it totally does if you really pursue your passions, or you're already doing it, which chances are you already are. And if not, go do it today. What's stopping you? It's going to take a lot of energy. It's going to be the driving force in your life when you figure out what it is that you're passionate about. So never give that up. Keep pursuing it. Keep following your dreams. And when those inspirational moods hit you, make sure you at least have a notebook or a sketch pad or your phone so you can jot down an idea so that it doesn't escape you for when you want to get down to the art day later on that day, hopefully. So you guys are wonderful. If you're watching this, you are the creative future, and I totally believe in you. So keep on following your dreams each and every day. And I love you guys lots. So we will see you for some more animation tomorrow.